Welcome to another edition of Talk City Greensboro, produced by GTN, featuring interviews and events happening around town. It's an easy way to stay in the know while you're on the go. Subscribe to Talk City on iTunes, Pandora, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you can keep up what's going on in Greensboro City government. I'm your host, Josh Johnson, and with me today, as always, around the big round table, the one and only Rosemary Plyben.
It's me. So glad to be here. Well, North Carolina's first memorial dedicated to women of the Holocaust stands in Greensboro's LeBauer Park, unveiled about 9 months ago. If you haven't visited, you definitely should.
Absolutely.
It is a place to remember, to experience, to learn, to share. The story behind it, of course, is decades old, but it is too important not to share over and over. She Wouldn't Take Off Her Boots is the name of the monument and the documentary that tells its story. And it comes to PBS this weekend. Nice. Jenny Kaiser is a filmmaker. She's here with us. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks
so
for
glad
coming.
to have you.
Yeah.
All right. So start by telling us, what was it like for you growing up, hearing stories of the Holocaust, hearing stories like the one in this film?
I think it was hard. You know, it's hard to have these stories of people that you know and to know that it would have happened to you. Not that it could have happened to you, but that it would have happened to you. And to hear the stories, to see the tattoos, it's impactful. And it makes you think, if it happens to me, what would I do? Who would I turn to? How would I handle it? So it changes your dynamic of the way that you think about yourself and the way that you think about others. And it builds like this trust, like who can I trust? And where would I go from there?
Yeah. And like you said, you saw the tattoos. This isn't something that is way back in history. This has happened to people we know, grandparents, aunts, uncles.
You know, it's interesting when I'm from Russian descent, and so my family immigrated to the U.S. from the former Soviet Union during the early 1900s. So it was the Bolshevik Revolution, it was the pogroms. So we didn't have in my family the stories of Germany and Nazi Germany. We had stories of the pogroms. When I married my husband's family, his grandparents escaped Nazi Germany. Wow. And so the stories of his family were very different than the stories of my family. And so it really put things into perspective. And the interesting thing is his grandparents didn't want to talk about it. It was, we are here in the United States. Life started in 1940 when we got here. It didn't start back in Germany. And it wasn't until I had kids that they started talking about it, that it was like, oh, if we don't talk about this now, it's going to be lost. So, you know, the importance of telling the stories and to talk to Holocaust survivors really started with them. For me personally, it started with them so that my kids would know their own history.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories, and I think that's what, you know, in this documentary, inside this one monument, it's not just one story. It is many stories.
It's so many stories. One of the goals of the entire project, not just the documentary, but the monument itself, was to gather as many firsthand stories of people living in Greensboro that had survived the Holocaust. And so as you go around the monument, you have stories from either Holocaust survivors themselves telling their own story or the children of survivors. But everybody is linked to Greensboro. And the important part about that is that I wanted people to be walking down Elm Street and say, oh, that person has a story. That person survived something horrific, and I can learn from them. That it wasn't something far away, that it wasn't something in Europe, that it was something here.
Yeah. So I don't know if you answered this question or not. When did you first hear this story, and how did you first get involved in this project?
This is amazing because it was 2020, right, in the middle of the pandemic, and one of my mentors is friends with Victoria Milstein. I've been friends with the sculptor. I've been friends with Victoria for years. And Victoria had this idea and they were like, great, how much is this going to cost? Oh, just about $1 million, like nothing big, right? And so they said, Jenny, can you make a sort of promo video to help us fundraise so that when we go to donors, we can say, this is what we want to do and this is why. Sure, not a problem.
Right.
I brought my film gear. It was just me. I'm like, if it's just, you know, pro bono, you get me and that's it. And so I brought my gear. We shoot this 3-minute video. We raise the money. and somebody says, wow, this was so impactful, this 3-minute video.
Yeah.
What if you did an entire documentary? What would that be? And put together a budget. Of course, if I'm doing a full-length documentary, it's not just me. I've got to hire a crew.
Gotta have a crew.
And one donor stepped up and said, I will cover the entire cost of the documentary. One donor.
That's
and
amazing.
it was just this amazing culmination of friends pulling together and saying, we want to really showcase this. And so 3 years, the crew and I followed Victoria as she was sculpting and then interviewed as many people as we could.
Right.
Yeah, people who gave, who posed, who were part of telling their stories. I mean, all of that came into this.
All of it. And we also wanted to include Greensboro as a character in the documentary.
Right.
And so we purposely interviewed people that were influential in Greensboro. So it's not just a Jewish story. It's a Greensboro story. So we have Alan Johnson interviewed. We have Shirley Fry interviewed.
Right.
And so it's really this Greensboro story in addition to a story of the monument and a story of the Holocaust.
And that's important because it's everyone's history. We have to own this and know it and know that we're all part of this one big family. Yeah, so important. So what has the response been to the film? Because it premiered in June of last year?
Premiered
at the
in
Carolina
June
Theater.
At the Carolina Theater. We had about 250 people.
Yeah, it was
come
great.
out
It's
to see it.
pretty cool.
Which was amazing. As content creators, you create content for the purpose of other people being inspired, touched, moved by your content. So to have that many people there to view the film and to be touched by the film was really moving for me and the crew. The entire crew showed up for the premiere, and we are sitting there going, okay, well, we saw that, and oh, that edit didn't work right, all of those kind of things.
Right. No, nobody saw any of that. No.
And everybody else in the audience is just coming up to us after crying and being like, oh my gosh, I was so moved. That was moving for us as the crew to really create something that touched somebody's soul, that changed them, hopefully for the better. So the film premiered in June. Back in December, we had pitched it to PBS. They picked it up. So it was just this really great moment of this evolution of this film in many different areas. So.
And so PBS picked it up. It's going to be showing later this week. You want to tell us about that?
Thursday at 10 p.m. It'll premiere on PBS on UNC TV. They're doing an entire evening about the Holocaust.
Oh, wow.
And so I think there's 4 different shows, and ours is in the 10 p.m. slot.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it runs again on early Friday morning, right? And then Saturday evening, I think, too.
Correct. And it'll be on the app. So if you have the UNC TV app, it'll be on the app. So if you're not in North Carolina and you're listening to this, go ahead and download the UNC TV
It's
app.
a great way to do it. And this, we should say, this is an abridged version. And so it's not the one that, for those of you who are at the Carolina Theater and have seen it, how can people see the whole version?
So starting actually this weekend, the Triad Jewish Film Festival is actually showing the full-length version.
Oh, nice.
You can see it in person at Wellspring. And you can go to mytjff.com and you can buy tickets. It'll also be streaming. So it'll be streaming through the Triad Jewish Film Festival as well. And we have submitted to film festivals all across the globe.
Excellent.
So hopefully we'll get accepted to some film festivals in Europe, some film festivals across the country. So people everywhere can see the full-length version.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be fantastic.
And I know there's a huge part of education behind this too. So if you go to the Women of the Shoah, jp.org, you can learn more about the component and how you can use the film, how you can use the monument to really, and how you can use Shelley's story and Victoria's story and all these other stories to teach, to learn about, and to teach others and to children especially about what happened.
Yeah. So right now I'm going on Thursday to a middle school, and I'm showing the film at a middle school. And Zev, who is a Holocaust survivor in the film. We're going to be speaking about the film, about the project, and about the Holocaust to middle schoolers.
Wow.
There's a form on the Women of the Shoah website where if you are an educator, you can fill out the form and you can have us come and speak and show the film.
Wow.
That's good. That's,
Good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does it mean to you that so many people will hear this story and know these women?
Wow. I think it goes back to that moving part. It goes back to that creating something that people will be changed. I hope that when they see the film and they see Victoria's ambition and what she wanted to convey through the monument, I hope that changes them. I hope that inspires people to use their voice when they feel it's necessary. I hope that when they go to the monument and they see the 5 women and they see that these were real human beings that were treated as less than, that they were treated as other, that they were not valued, that we realize that everybody is valued, that everybody has a purpose and a voice and a story. And these are these 5 women that you're able to see the grandmother in the middle and say, okay, she lived this life and this is how her life ended. But then you also have the spectrum of the women. You have the child. She's like 10 years old. Yeah. She didn't get to live her life. Her life was cut short because she was not seen as human. And I hope that people take away from this that when we treat people as others, when we treat people as less than human, that we're not just diminishing them, but we're diminishing ourselves. So that's my hope, is that they see these 5 women, that they see all of the people in the film and around the monument and see we are human, we have stories.
Yeah.
Wow. You can watch the film on PBS or on the app. That's a really important way on the UNC. Tell me the app again.
It's the UNC TV, PBS, NC app.
Yeah, that's going to be the easiest way. But again, starts on January 25th, this Thursday, 10 p.m. Find out more, of course, by getting the app, checking your listings, of course, on your television, record if you need to, and also find out more about the story behind it. Sign up to learn more, to do a program, to watch the full-length film, to talk with the survivors, to talk with the sculptor, with Victoria, with Jenny. womenoftheshoahjp.org is that website.
Jenny, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned in weekly by subscribing to Talk City Greensboro on iTunes, Pandora, and Google Play. And don't forget you can download Talk City from SoundCloud.
That's our time for this week. Thank you for spending some of yours with us. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Hey, be sure to watch GTN. That's your official source for news and information about the city of Greensboro. It's available on Spectrum Channel 13,
AT&T Uverse Channel 99,
and Lumos 31.
GTN also streams live on Roku and the city's website at
greensboro-nc.gov.